on an annual basis. So, and we have subscription fatigue too. People are getting tired of subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of one of them. So I just don't. I do struggle to see a world where Game Pass starts hitting 50 million, 60 million, 70, 80 million, and COD, people buy it. Casual COD players, they buy it. Like hardcore COD players, they buy it, and they might get new subscribers that are like, oh man, COD, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and buy it, check it out. But generally speaking, people just buy it, and other people will sub for a month, play what they want to play, and then they'll drop out.
Right.
You know, like with Hellblade 2, I want to play it, but I'm not 100% on it. As much as I love the first one, I'm still kind of not sure about the second one. And since I'm new, I would be new to Game Pass on PC. I'd sub for that $1, play the game. And if I love it, then I'll buy it. But I'm gonna sub for that $1 for the month, play that, and then since Ubisoft Plus is in it, maybe play Lost Crown. And if I like it, I'll buy it. But then like after I sub, I'm gonna immediately go for the option that says let it lapse once it's over, because I don't want a monthly bill, and I don't play fast enough for the games that are in Game Pass for me to get my money's worth anyway. So,
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think they've got a really big challenge to get, the number of subs that they want to get to.
That's a really good point. And Slow-Mo has the other channel also about to get ready. He already dropped if you don't see the redirect, you can just hit the link in the chat that Slow-Mo put there. So I'm about to send us over there. But the biggest thing the last thing I want to say, as everybody's redirecting over, is I think that's the biggest thing is their win con. I feel like they had two different ones. They had a win con when it come to their own system, in conjunction with other things happening. But I feel like with their ability, their inability, I should say, to sell their own console by telling people they don't need it is the biggest hindrance to why I feel like their Game Pass success is now, because this is like the moment where Game Pass subscribers should be going through the roof, because all of the games that you announce, and we're starting to see those games starting to roll out, but you didn't already planted the seed of doubt that you don't, in people's head that, hey, you don't need this. There's more people playing on PC than ever before. Their other win con, which I think they were probably banking on at some point, was trying to get this service on other systems. Like, if they could find a way to get Game Pass in whatever form it can be, like a stripped down version where it's only their first party titles or something like that, if they could find a way to do it that way, I feel like they can actually hit that number if they do it. But I feel like Nintendo and PlayStation they're just not going to allow that to happen. It's mostly PlayStation due to the fact that they have a competing service in PlayStation Premium that they are, selling over there. So those are all the different things that I have, but for the most part, it is what it is. But Slow-Mo, everybody should be redirected over here to you now. And let's get into these final two topics, basically around Xbox and game skipping the system.
Cool. So, something that we didn't quite talk about in regards to the Nintendo showcase was a collection of classic fighting games. And if you're, kind of an older gamer and you used to dabble in the fighting games, especially in the arcades, you probably, fangirled out, as they say, for Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom collection that is coming out on, believe this is supposed to be coming out on the Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation 4, and that's it. It's not coming out on Xbox. Now, there have been a lot of people discussing why that is and what's going on and what's happening. And, there are people saying, oh, it's because Capcom skipped it because the games don't sell on Xbox, which kind of makes you wonder, like, why were they why would they do that for this game, but then but put games like so Primal on there, and then it's like, well, but that was in Game Pass, but then you put Resident Evil 4 Remake on there that wasn't in Game Pass. Like, so what's up? Some of the information that's been coming out is that what is it called? The MT
framework.
MT framework is set up for last gen consoles, but not current gen. And on PlayStation, they're able to still just put that on PlayStation 4. And then, therefore, if you own a PlayStation 5, then you can play the game just backwards compatible. Unfortunately, that it doesn't work the same way on the Xbox, and therefore that's why it's not on there. Now, you could say for certain, hey, look, Xbox should be doing whatever it takes to kind of make sure things like this don't happen anymore. But it does seem to be a increasing number of games, for whatever reason, that skip the Xbox platform, but it's the only platform that's getting skipped. And so let's have that discussion, and it's not just about Marvel versus Capcom, but we know that Black Myth Wukong is being delayed on the Xbox platform later this year. Some people aren't buying the explanation from Game Science, the developer, who said that it's an optimization issue on the Xbox that needs to be cleared up. I'm not saying that's not true. It could definitely be true. It could be. It just all depends on their development and their internal development. If they didn't start working on the Xbox version for whatever reason until much later, then yeah, that could definitely be part of the reason why that is. It may not be strictly just because it's the Xbox Series S, when like other games there are Unreal Engine 5 games are on the Xbox Series S. So I'll just say this real quick for my piece on it, and then Ramon, you can speak your piece on it. I think we're seeing various reasons for games missing the platform, or being delayed for the platform. It's not directly because the Xbox sells less, but it's indirectly because it sells less. These are things that if the Xbox platform was selling more games, then more than likely they would just delay the game until it was ready. Or Capcom would put the work in to make sure that MT framework was working with Xbox Series X and S. But because it's not a high priority, they don't make it a priority to make sure it's working or to put it over there. They could chalk it up as, all right, well, the smallest amount of sales that we were going to get is no longer, happening on that platform or getting delayed. So what? And so I do think that due to the fact that whenever we do see sales for these third-party games, that the Xbox is the least selling one, plays a part in it, but it's not the sole reason for it. There are other things that are happening that is the main reason. And they just say, hey, well, look, the platform's not as important to us. And so therefore, we just don't need to put it over there. Ramon, thoughts?
Oh, man. So,
he sound defeated.
Well, first of all, I feel for Xbox players. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of Xbox players out there that don't follow all this stuff, and they're just like, "What, man? What the hell? Why aren't we getting the game?" You know what I mean? And they don't know, they don't follow this. All for as far as they're concerned, they just like the Xbox platform, and that's where they want to play, and they're not getting these games. So, I mean, I feel for them. That said, I mean, it's been said multiple times, far better than I can articulate it. There are a number of factors that go into why a third-party developer does or does not put their game on a platform. But I feel very confident in saying that one of those factors is not man, screw Xbox, man. We gonna stick it to Xbox fans. We ain't gonna even put our game on there. We gonna make them wait. I would be, I have a hard time believing that there is a developer out there that just hates Xbox and Xbox players and wants to make them wait or not give them their game. They're trying to sell their game. So, you know, a lot of people who are taking it personally and they're like, well, I'm not gonna buy it then. It's like, dude, like, you know, you're taking this personally, you know, and it's resources, you know, depending on the studio size and their resources and everything, you know, can they afford to do a simultaneous development? And if they can't and they have to pick and choose, of course, they're going to choose the platform that has the largest base and the largest potential sales. So, I mean, and then they also know that they might be, and I'm not saying they are, but they might be also competing with Game Pass. Titles that are on Game Pass, you know, because there are contingent of Xbox players that are like, if it's not on Game Pass, I'm not messing with it. I'm not saying all of them, but there are a good number of them that think that way, you know. And so I mean, there's just a myriad of reasons why this keeps happening, and the Series S, you know, kind of hamstringing the Series X is only one of those, but it is one of those. So as far as Marvel versus Capcom, like, I can't imagine it being the Series X of the Series S being at fault, because it's Marvel versus Capcom. It's not a, like, you know, unless I'm way off the mark, I don't think it's a demanding game for that hard for this generation hardware, the Series S. So I don't know, man. I mean, it could be one of a number of reasons, but them choosing to skip Xbox for the sake of skipping Xbox for some, you know, emotional, nefarious reasons is not one of them that I imagine is the case.
Yeah, and let me clarify, because there are people in the chat that don't understand what I was saying before. I'm not saying that the Xbox platform being the lowest platform on sales for these third-party developers is the reason. I thought I was pretty clear with this, but let me clarify it again. It's not the reason. What I do believe is that more than likely it is a reason. The main reason is stuff like Capcom's MT framework. The main reason is more than likely Game Science with Black Myth Wukong did all their console optimizations on PlayStation, knowing or feeling that PlayStation would be the highest selling platform due to the much larger player base in history, recent history, and then decided, okay, all right, so now we're going to optimize this game for Xbox. Okay, this is taking longer than we thought it was. Now, if Xbox was a bigger platform, we would just push the game back so that we have a simultaneous release. But they care so little about it, which I'm not saying that's justified, but they care so little. It's obvious they care so little about the Xbox platform that they choose to just not have it out at the same time, and they don't care. Same thing that Larian did last year with Baldur's Gate 3. It's coming out later on the Xbox. We're not delaying the game. And it's just, if it was a bigger platform, they wouldn't make those kind of decisions. But that's what's going on. And it's just like, I'm not saying it's okay, and I'm not saying it's right, especially if you are an Xbox only console gamer. But it's the reality of what's happening. Like, that's what's happening. Games are either being delayed on the platform or they're skipping the platform. And there are various reasons that have come out for it. With Baldur's Gate 3, they had an issue with the Xbox Series S in memory that they weren't able to get sorted, and they needed the help of Xbox engineers to help them with that. But if it was a bigger if that was PlayStation that had a problem, what would they have done?
They would have
delayed the game. They would have made it work. They would have delayed the game.
Made it work. Yep.
So it's pretty obvious what's happening here. And I think that's something that, like, it's unfortunate for the Xbox platform, the Xbox employees there that have to deal with that, producers that work with these third-party publishers. You got more work to do than the PlayStation platform. But that's how business works when you're the underdog in that in the console market. You're third place. So you do have to put in more work in order to get the same thing that Nintendo and Sony are getting, because you kind of need those games more than they need you. And when that's the case, it is what it is.
But see, my whole thing about this is you're not wrong. I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I feel like just all personal feelings and stuff on this. Even if Xbox was in third place, but if the platform had, if third party developers or second party developers felt like they had a avenue to make that money back without the fear of feeling like they're going to miss it, I think they would go ahead and make that decision, because they're not going to skip PlayStation. Like you said, they'll just delay the game, or they'll find a way to fix the issue they're having because they know the revenue is going to be there. So this all comes back to me. It always comes back to the direction that Xbox wants. They want to be this forward-facing consumer, champion consumer, to let people know they have options. And I get it. I appreciate it, because we're able to, like, as gamers.
Forte, hold up real quick. Almost forgot. We have Game Pass codes to give out.
Yeah.
And I want to shout out to Aronimus in the chat, because he's the one that provide these for us. These are 1 month Xbox Game Pass Ultimate codes. They you can't stack these, but we're going to the way I want to do it is I was going to do a whole thing with like channel members, and then like a little, the little thing with it, just like, but I guess you got to like actually set that up ahead of time, which I didn't do. So that's on me. But what I will do, we will just put these in the chat. And so if you are, prepared, and you really good with the copy and paste, you're gonna get really get a benefit. And if you do get a code, don't be a dick. Tell Aronimus thank you.
Yeah, please do. Appreciate
and
that.
I'll do the first one in a few moments. I'm not gonna speak on all of them or say exactly what I'm doing. I don't want people to,
be ready.
Be super, be super ready or whatnot.
I'm prepared, but I think, like you said, while you're doing that, but I think ultimately it comes back to that whole conversation around Xbox telling people that they don't need the console, and that's a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, sure, they still make money. They're still have subscribers to Game Pass. They're making money on PC, but the thing that is being, kind of hampered the most is the console itself, due to the fact that developers are not seeing the benefits of doing it. Now, even if they were in third place, but people were still buying games on the platform, then it would be like, okay, well, we'll still, maybe Xbox steps in to help them do it. But I also don't think Xbox is going to do anything on this one, because if they would have, it would have been something that they would have did already. And maybe if this was like a bigger game, like how Baldur's Gate was, and it just was like, it was already released on PC and it was coming to console, and the whole conversation around how this is like one of the best games of the year, that kind of forced Xbox to be like, well, we can't have this game skip our platform because optimization, or because of, the whole co-op thing when it comes to split screen and stuff. So they went in and they kind of helped with that. They don't have, like, the fact people keep asking, like, well, it's not on the PlayStation 5. Well, they're playing backwards compatible through PlayStation 4 because MT framework works perfect. They have a pipeline on PlayStation to make it work, where on Xbox is a little bit more cumbersome. Do you
think that is partially might be due to how PlayStation 4 was compared to Xbox One when it came to the fighting game demographic in fighting games in general.
It was because that was the fighting game system. Like all of those all of those things were set up from the beginning with that system in mind. I mean, you got to remember Street Fighter V exclusive to the PlayStation. The only games that I think all the Guilty Gears and stuff like that. The only things that weren't exclusive were like Tekken and Mortal Kombat. Everything else was basically on PlayStation up into midway through the generation when Street Fighter 6 finally got announced and it came over to the Xbox. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. But this also goes back to the fact that I don't think Xbox is at fault for it. It's just a simple fact that Capcom doesn't see the benefit.
I would say,
go ahead.
Like regardless of the reason, everyone's going to debate the reasons, and people will say, people will be like, it's all Xbox fault or it's all Capcom's fault. Whatever it is that like this is the reality of things, and in order to try to avoid that, like for those who don't understand how it all works, it's not just like, A company calls up B company and says, I want to put a game on your platform. Okay, here's the license. All right, talk to you later. Like every developer, even indie developers, have a producer that they work with for the platform. And so they have questions that they want to, like, I remember indie developers were complaining about PlayStation because they were complaining about the fact they wanted to they wanted to like go take advantage of like holiday sales or put in like lower the price of their game, try to take advantage of certain things. And, the producers at PlayStation weren't really paying attention or giving bigger priority to these indie developers because they had bigger, publishers to look at. So look, literally every single, even down to the tiniest single person developer studio has a producer with a platform. There are Xbox producers that work with Capcom. And if this was going to be a problem, then like, it would behoove me that an Xbox producer would have to take the L for this, because it's like, well, you see, if you're not up on what's going on with your account for a game that's super popular, for a classic game that's going to be get a lot of attention, and maybe this person did everything they could and just they couldn't get it done. But like somebody on the Xbox side dropped the ball in order in not providing or doing whatever you can to try to make sure that this eventual reality that happened where the game skips the platform actually happens and it isn't like fixed before because like we could have just not even known that this was an issue. True. If they would have handled it behind the scenes before the collection was announced. But the collection is announced.
And they knew it was being announced. So
right. And so the collection is being announced and they're skipping your platform, for a technical reason. It goes back to Baldur's Gate 3 with the whole Xbox Series S thing. Like, why did it take a public being embarrassed publicly on it before you do something about it, which is get your engineers out there to help Larian optimize their game to work on your platform? This is why, like, if you notice it over the history of console, hardware and generations, the platforms that have the easiest development tend to do better.
Yeah.
For example, like 7th generation, Xbox 360 and PS3.
Yep.
Cell processor, all this, like going X64, all this nonsense that Sony did, in addition to having it being stupid expensive, Xbox made things simple for developers. And so when third-party games came out, they ran better on the Xbox 360 and they sold better. And developers made it their lead platform.
Man, some developers were even talking about not supporting the PS3.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
And you know, and that's, they made it harder on themselves for not taking into account, like, you have to take into account what the developers want. And it can't just be, you know, well, this is what we want to do with our hardware this generation. And that's fine. You know, you want to be different and unique, but you got to make sure different and unique isn't being a hindrance to the people who are making the majority of the games on your platform. Especially in today's day and time, where the most played games are third-party games, third-party live service games. You want to make sure that they're good to go. Because you know, I'm not saying this happened. Of course it didn't happen. But like, what if Fortnite had an issue? What if Epic had an issue with Unreal Engine 5 on the Xbox? Like, hey, you better be on that.
That's
number
like
one game on all platforms. The number one game on all platforms. Come on, man.
We call it in. We call it in everybody to work on this.
Exactly. Yeah. You gotta get it figured out. Of course, I'm not clearly Fortnite. You know, Marvel vs. Capcom collection is not going to do sales like or have as many players as Fortnite. But it's just like this is it's on a much smaller scale. It's still important because when these things start to accumulate, like this is whether people may say it's a narrative, people may say it's a legitimate issue. Regardless, it's something that is a topic of discussion, and it's not a topic of discussion I think anybody in Xbox leadership likes to hear, that games are skipping your platform, and it seems to be a thing. In addition to the fact that you're putting your own first-party games on your competitor's platform as well, people are now also openly saying, well, why should I buy an Xbox if I can just get a PlayStation, get your games later, and I get their games, but you don't get their games? You know, like when that's a reality, that just kind of exasperates the issue with like something that if that wasn't an issue, this still would have been an issue with Marvel vs. Capcom. So it's unfortunate. But you have to be on top of things and make sure your developers are good to go with certain things. If they got problems, you know, if they're not openly being, you know, verbal in their communication about it, you should be on top of it before they are. You know, you should be asking these kind of questions to make sure that these things you're not being blindsided by a situation and you're just sitting there and maybe your boss is just like, hey, Xbox producer guy, John, how did you not know that this was a problem? Like, you don't want to be that guy in the meeting, you know, not actually having a answer that makes sense, you know? So just, they gotta fix this stuff. Hopefully, maybe it shows up later on. Who knows? You know, maybe it's just not going to be there right now. You know, I don't think Capcom has spoken on it officially. So maybe now that it's out there, it's going to end up coming eventually, and the Xbox is on top of it. But you just kind of hope that they would be on top of these things before they go public.
Right. Because you just don't want to hear a conversation where Jez Corden comes out with an article and he's saying, you know, game is still set to come to Xbox just at a later date. And then it's like, well, we didn't even have to know that the game was being delayed off the platform. If you know, it's a lot of stuff to it, but it's always centered around communication with Xbox. You know, they just have
hold on, Miko in the chat says the Fighting Force collection that got announced today is coming to everything but Xbox as well. I didn't hear that.
Really?
Oh man.
Force collection.
Man, I'm watching this Ratchet and Clank.
Yep, that is true. It's
It sure is.
I'll send this to you guys.
Yeah. Limited run.
It's coming to PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC.
Oh my god,
that's crazy. And these two examples, this game and Marvel vs. Capcom, it clearly can't be a Series S issue because the Series S is more powerful than the Switch. So
that game, that game will run fine on the Series S. So I don't know what the problem. Yeah.
What if
Oh,
it goes
man.
back to the whole pipeline, like for fighting games, and maybe play? And the thing is, Nintendo was set up for it because they have, they have Smash Brothers, and they have fighting games that's on there, and PlayStation same thing. And maybe it's just like a huge oversight by Xbox to not have that pipeline available for them to make these games. But yeah, this is it. Yeah, you can't blame the console for these games skipping it. It's more of an integration of how to get these games over. But guess what? Now, Limited Run in cooperation with Square Enix has announced fighting game collection for PlayStation 5, 4, Switch, and PC. It includes Fighting Force and Fighting Force 2. It will launch in 2025. So the fact that they already put this on here with no Xbox on it, saying 2025, and that's over half a year from now before we get to that.
And again, this would not be an issue. Like,
right.
If the roles were reversed and PlayStation was the platform that was having the problem, while PlayStation is, the much bigger install base in the console space, we would not be hearing about this, because what would happen is that they would make sure it's ready to go, and they will launch it when it's ready to go on PlayStation. But because it's the reverse, and it's and we saw, like, what was it, 2 to 3 to 1 PS4 over Xbox One. It's 2 to 1 PS5, sales over Xbox Series X and S. You're at a disadvantage, and so in order to get those games, you gotta put in more work to make sure that developers are happy to put games on your platform, even though they're going to get less sales. And there's this people. It's funny because people choose to like the things that Skill Up says, depending on what he says. But Skill Up did his podcast recently, and he said he or somebody on his team spoke with about a dozen developers, and a common theme that came up is that some developers are skipping putting games on the Xbox platform because they feel like that Microsoft have conditioned Xbox gamers to expect games to be in Game Pass, and if they're not in Game Pass, then they won't buy it. And that's whether that's reality or not. We have seen that in this community. There have been people who have been proudly boasting that in this community.
Mm-hmm.
We know who they are.
I've seen people say that, if some of these other high profile games can be in Xbox or in Game Pass, then there's no excuse for this game to be. But it ignores so many things. Like, it could be choice, but it could also be they submitted the game to Xbox and said, hey, can you put this in Game Pass? And Xbox says, no, we're good. So then, like, you're saying they have no excuse, but they literally tried to get the game in Game Pass and couldn't get it in. So now what? You're still not going to support it just because it's not there?
Yeah. And a lot of the times that stuff isn't made public. Like, you got to find out. Like, I remember I know a developer that wanted to put their game in Game Pass and they couldn't. The developer for Lost Eidolons, it's a strategy RPG, and it's a decent game. And I followed the game. I did the Kickstarter. I thought their idea was pretty unique and different as far as the strategy RPG or tactical RPG side of things goes. And I remember watching one of their dev talk Q&As, and people asked the question because the game was first shown at ID at Xbox. And so, of course, the kind of question pops up: hey, are you guys trying to get into Game Pass? And their lead director openly said, we would love to be in Game Pass, but that's something you got to talk to Microsoft about. At a later date, they were a little bit more candid and just said they attempted to try to get into Game Pass and they were denied. And the reason for their denial was, there's too many similar games like that already in the service. You can't force it. But if you wanted to play Lost Eidolons, are you going to penalize the developer for a choice that the Xbox leadership made? I don't think that's fair. I feel like if you want to play a game, like, stop pretending like you work for a corporation, be a gamer, and buy the game. Whether it's on the platform that you prefer the most, or whether it's in a service that you prefer the most. If you want to buy the game, just buy the game. Like, some of these games that the people are upset about that I see, they're just like, oh, it's not in Game Pass, I'll wait, or I don't want it, or whatever. It's a $20 game. I saw people complaining about freaking Death's Door, which is fantastic. $20 game.
Oh, and that game is so good.
So you ain't gonna spend $20 on a game because it's not in Game Pass? What? And we don't even know if the developer for Death's Door wanted it in Game Pass or not. Like, that just, I don't understand how people take platforms and the platform is more important than their own personal interests in entertainment. Your role here as consumer is to play games, not to cat and try to manipulate a market for your favorite platform, which you really can't do. You're one person, bro. Like you're not refusing to buy a game that you want because it's not in Game Pass. It's not moving the needle.
Right.
It's silly. But I see people say these kind of things, and I just shake my head because it's just like, yo, how about you just play the game? You know, you probably will really like it, since you apparently were interested before you found out it wasn't going to be in Game Pass. It's just weird.
We're all here for.
Well, I mean, when you go back and you look at it, it's like this all kind of changed going back to like 2000, early 2000s and stuff, because before then, you know, it was I always looked at it, it was like the platform makers that were, you know, the ones that were talking all the joke and smoke about each other, Mortal Kombat and stuff. It was Nintendo versus Sega, and Sega trying to convince people to come over and play Mortal Kombat over there because they had blood and PlayStation and Nintendo didn't. And that was something that was driven by the platforms. Now it's like, it's the gamers driving that conversation. And for me, I just miss the times of being able to be like, okay, if I don't have said game, I can go buy said game, or I can go borrow said game from a friend, or I could go borrow their system. Like, when I grew up, like, I didn't have every console. You know, I didn't have a Neo Geo, but I had a friend that had one. I let him borrow my Sega CD, and he let me borrow his Neo Geo for like a week, and I played like all of the games and stuff that he had on it. And there was no bias or anything to like the type of games you like to play. And then for me, I just think it got real territorial when it came to the online. When online became a thing and people got voices that probably shouldn't have voices, that's when it kind of it all kind of went downhill. Because
Tainted the water.
Yeah, because I don't think it gave people the opinion. It then, and I hate to say this, man, because, you know, shout out to this show, man, because, you know, 10%ers, we only follow each other. We don't follow the 90% of other people out there that want to do something, do the same thing. We pave our own path, and that's who we are on this channel. But for the most part, a lot of people are just taking cues from people that they watch on YouTube, people that they like to parrot other people's opinions and stuff, or they'll have a conversation and this goes down to the thing that I was telling Erica yesterday about her review. And, you know, and I haven't listened to it, I haven't watched it yet. It could be a horrible, I don't think it's good because she's very thorough in what she does, but it could be terrible. But her review could be terrible, but I guarantee it's not. But the thing is, I like the fact that she had the opportunity to have an opinion about something before, and her of all people being a person that's really, really heavily ingrained in that ecosystem. She knows the ins and outs of Souls games, and her having the opportunity to review that game and have an opinion and a voice before anybody else that could taint her overall opinion of it was amazing. And I was happy for her for that, because most people don't get that opportunity. And when you think about all of the different scenarios and all the different things that people talk about on all these different platforms, half of it is like, am I like really listening to you, or am I listening to the 15 other people that you listened to before you said what came out of your mouth today?
Right. There's also a lot of people speaking to a particular audience that giving them what they want to hear. Because
absolutely.
I know there are
Oh,
content
yeah, that
creators, and I've heard them say it before, where they'll speak candidly behind the scenes in DMs about certain things that they will never say live to their audience, because they know there are a significant portion of their audience don't want to hear that kind of statements. They don't want to hear that kind of candid speak about certain things, so they won't say anything live, because they don't want to affect the amount of viewers that they get and whatnot. But they'll say it behind the scenes. They'll be just as upset about certain things or whatever, or they'll be honest about what they think a reason is for something or whatever. But openly, it's they got their talking orders. They got their talking orders, and they know what they can and cannot say. And I found that to be really disheartening, because if you got a big community of people, are they really there for you, or are they just there because you say things that they want to hear? I think even they know if they're being honest with themselves, they know the answer to that. I think in this whole thing, this whole entire discussion, yes, there are multiple games that are skipping the platform of Xbox for whatever reason. There are, and these reasons aren't all the same, but the end result is still the same. And when the end result is the same, like there is still something that Xbox leadership has to address. They got to figure out a way to fix it. What is the common denominator that's happening with these developers when they're choosing to skip your platform? Do you know ahead of time that these games were skipping your platform? Did they apply for a license for your platform and then it didn't show up there? Like, why weren't you aware of that ahead of time? If you were aware of that ahead of time, what did you do to try to resolve this before it went public? Like, there's just so much that can be delved into in ways that they can figure this out and get it fixed. But it's just like, as we continue to keep seeing game after game, like we just found out about another game, Fighting Force Collection also not going. And it's just, so what are you doing to address it? And it's not necessarily like I don't care, because I own everything. And even with my preferred platform being PC, I don't mind playing a game on a console. I mean, I wouldn't prefer it, but I wouldn't mind playing a game on the console if that's the only place I can play the game. Unicorn Overlord, for whatever reason, Vanillaware hates PC and won't put a single game on PC. Ain't nothing Atlas can do about it. Fine. 13 Sentinels I have on PlayStation. Unicorn Overlord I have on Xbox. And Unicorn Overlord is freaking fantastic. I wish it was on PC. I'm not going to boycott Vanillaware because it's not on PC. That's childish. I have the platform. Dudes who have multiple platforms are like, I'm boycotting games because they don't show up on my preferred platform. Then what did you buy the other system for? Did you buy the other system so that when people call you a fanboy, you could say, I own everything, but you don't play everything? Like, before we went live, I was saying this, and maybe some of y'all caught it. It's like the console guys that bought a $4,000 PC gaming rig just to say I have PC, but I prefer console anyway. And when you call them out on it, they go, I got a PC, but the game's just fine on console. It's no difference. How do you know it's no difference? You double dipped. You bought the game on PC and console at the same time, and you actually tested both of them. Crickets when you asked that question. Of course they didn't. They're capping. They spent $4,000 to be stupid. Some of y'all spent $400 to $500 to be stupid. Talking about games ain't on my preferred platform, and you got a PlayStation 5 collecting dust. Boot it up over there and stop crying. Like, boot it up over there and stop crying. Boot it up on your Switch and stop crying. What did you buy the platform for if you weren't going to play games on it?
Go in the backyard and break me off a Switch and come back in here.
Break me off a Switch.
That's what Slomo doing right now. He telling gamers, like, go take your ass in the back, excuse my language, go in the backyard and break off a Switch and bring it back.
Don't bring me back a big one either. Bring me back the smallest Switch you can find.
Yeah, and then they go chop down the tree and bring it back in.
Yeah. Chop down the tree.
Oh man,
Slomo's spitting right now, man.
I'm just like, I'm just sick of it, yo, because it's so easy to discern when it's all cat. It's so easy to discern when you're just fanboying, because it's just like the same people who will spend money to appear to be objective, so that when they say cap nonsense that's clearly biased, that they can try to pretend to be objective, but when you break it down, you don't spend money on that other platform. Right. And there's a reason why you don't spend money on the other platform, even though all these platforms have exclusive games, or at least timed exclusive. Like, you're not fooling nobody. You're just a fanboy, man. And and it just is what it is. And I'm not talking about the people who have chosen, look, I only play on PC. I only play on console. I'm not going to PC. So if there's a game on PC that, I'm talking about the people who have bought multiple platforms but still act and talk like the person who only owns one platform. Those hypocrites are the ones I'm talking about. I'm good.
Hypocrite. He's good. So
yeah, it's just weird. It's so weird.
It is weird, but well, the one thing I will say is, once again, another amazing show. There was a lot of stuff to talk about, but not a crazy amount. Once again, I do want to thank the homie, the other myth, the legend, Hardmark channel extraordinaire, person that always is in our hearts and in our minds. Ramon Terrell. Please let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on in the future, sir.
Oh man, you spoiling me. No, it's been awesome being on the show. I love being on the show with you guys. You're some of my favorite people. You're awesome, and thank you for having me on. You can find me on Twitter, Ramon_Terrell. And in terms of projects, I don't know if I can talk about it. I didn't sign an NDA, but there's a show coming out called In Den Woken. I don't know if that's a code name or not, but small part on that I got, and that was a lot of fun. Industry's been kind of weird right now, so not a lot going on. And if you read epic fantasy, look me up by my name, you'll find books. And other than that, just
do you have an update on your big, I don't know if I could say it publicly or not, your big project?
Not yet. Yeah, we can't talk about it yet. We're
okay.
It's one of those things where you wait, and then one big step happens, and then you start moving a little bit, and then that next step happens, and then everything shoots forward. And we're kind of in that
let me make
phase
sure I
where
get all the codes out. Go ahead.
We're getting close to that first step, so which is basically centered around tax breaks and budgets. Once that happens, once that tax break budget thing happens, then we've got a few more steps, and then after those happen, you will know that everything is you'll know that the check's cleared and everything is green light, because I'll be well, as far as the public knows, I'll be posting pictures of my 5090. As far as you guys know, you'll get me in your DMs talking about, hey, slow mo. So, what should I pair up with this 5090? So.
I can already
Hey, look,
tell
that 5090 coming out this probably Q3 or late Q3, early Q4 of this year.
I'm so jealous when you get
if that project works out, buy yourself a 5090 and buy me one too. You might be
Right.
like, look, I know what the project is, and if it gets green lit, I think it will blow. And I think you got enough money to just start, passing some 5090s around. You should be able to just do a little something. You're like, hey, how you doing? Here's a 5090. Just I don't even got a PC to put it in. Doesn't matter. Here's a 5090.
Yep, you can start
hang it on your wall.
Yep, you can start sponsoring people. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Giving people 5090s, they ain't got a PC or case or nothing. Just give 5090s out.
Yep,
What is
put it on
this?
your wall.
Don't worry about it. Just take it.
It's an ornament.
A quick note related to that. I just want to say that having had a foray in Forza Horizon 5 this afternoon, I have to give a very quick shout out to ray tracing. It is the most beautiful thing in the world. I just want to sit down and cry every time I look at it.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great to have ray tracing at a playable frame rate?
Dude,
oh my God.
I don't even have DLSS on.
AMD guys don't know what that's about.
Well, I don't know, Somo. I might have to trade in my 4070 PC for a PS5 Pro since it's supposed to be more powerful than my 4070.
Oh
anyway,
my God! Don't listen to those guys. They're gonna set you up.
I don't even have. Oh man, I don't even have DLSS on. I'm running native 4K with full ray tracing, everything on epic highest settings, and I'm averaging about 80 to 90 frames, somewhere around there. And that's just all complete raster. It's just man, and on my OLED TV, because I don't play on a monitor, so that's on my 77-inch OLED, and it is the most glorious thing.
I just want to hit this real quick. I think it's funny when AMD guys go, no one cares about ray tracing, and it's just like, you don't care about ray tracing because you can't do it. It's like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You can't do ray tracing with playable frame rate, so you keep it off. And if people with older NVIDIA GPUs do the same thing, they keep it off because they can't play games with it on.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I was one of them. Every time Slow-Mo used to talk about his 40, like his what's the 4080 and stuff, and be like the frame rate. I said, man, why you turn that feature on that takes your frame rate? I said, I never loved the feature that takes your frame rate.
Hey, this gameplay I'm showing right now, this is Cyberpunk 2077 with ray trace overdrive on. That's path tracing.
And guess what? As soon as I got
it ain't a flip show. It ain't a flip show like it would be on an AMD CPU. Even the best AMD CPU can't run it better than a 4080 Super, which is even the best NVIDIA GPU.
Well, guess what?
I'm just saying.
I was running Forza because I did the same thing that Ramon did. I put Forza Motorsport, turned everything to Ultra. I wasn't even using DLSS, and I was still getting like 110 frames per second, maxed out everything, 3440 by 1600, not even using DLSS. I was like, I turned on DLSS, I was getting 163 frames a second. I was like, oh my God.
And check this out. Forte and Slow-Mo's rigs like curb stomp mine, and I was playing with path tracing before I stopped playing Cyberpunk because cybernetics freaked me out. But I was playing Cyberpunk with path tracing at 1440p maxed out, and I was still hitting like 70 frames.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, to each his own. It's a beautiful thing. Slow-Mo, what you got going on your channel, and where can people find you?
Well, I've been making videos on my channel again. You should see a lot of regular content coming from me. I dropped a video yesterday on Dragon Age. I will have a video out tomorrow. I'm not going to say what it is. You'll just have to see. when it comes out tomorrow. But there's that. There's just me playing games and enjoying video games like we supposed to as gamers. And I hope you guys have a good weekend. Actually, I was invited to jump on Crossfire real quick. So, which is going on right now. Shout out to Booch. And I will be.
Shout out to Mooch. Shout out.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump over there. They may be winding down at this point. I'm not quite sure, but
no, they're only halfway through the show, bro, and that show still got 2 hours left.
All right, well, yeah, you can catch me over there if you guys want to, want more gaming conversations. But appreciate everybody for coming through. Thank you again, Erodimus, for providing the 1 month Game Pass codes. I put all of them in the chat. I don't know if anyone grabbed the last 2 or not. I didn't see. I know I saw 2 people mention that they grabbed the codes before. Please thank Erodimus for those codes. He didn't have to do that. Yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah. So myself, Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, you already know. Check us out. It's going to be a great time. Integration to this channel will be happening very, very soon. Most likely by the end of this month, within probably the first week of next month. So be on the lookout for that to happen. Yeah, so we'll let everybody know exactly what week it's going to happen on, but it's going to happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But with that, we enjoy it. Enjoy the games you're playing, and we will see you guys next week at the regular time, 9 p.m. Thursday, DPS episode 186 on Slowmo's channel.
All right, peace.
Later on, everybody.
Boop, boop, boop.